Hey, you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. All right, listen. I want you to just take a minute here, all right, and just imagine yourself at around 8, 9 years old, maybe even 10. It doesn't really matter. All right, the year is, let's just say for and giggles, 1999. I think 1999 is a good year. All right, you're about to go to sleep on the couch. Your parents are about to pick you up. It's already 10:30 p.m. and the last episode of Prince of Bel-Air is already out and about and gone through the ending credits. And then finally, out of the corner of your shut eye, you hear it. 'Cause I'm your lady. Celine Dion piping through and Rod Stewart with his raspy voice. Have I told you lately that I love you? Like, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the one and only CD compilation that you'll ever need to have the ultimate love song collection. Now, granted that we're not going to just, sit by and just talk about one commercial. No. I want you to really imagine yourself. I want you to really imagine yourself on that couch watching that thing on TV again, because there's a point to be made over here. There's a point of something that makes you long for it and miss you for it. There's a point to be said about compilation CDs. Let's start the show. Yes, the 90s. As everyone remembers the 90s, the good years, the 90s. We don't remember about the Kuwait War. We don't remember about Saddam Hussein. We don't even remember about Osama bin Laden being mentioned out in the Afghani desert over there. No. We're talking about the 90s, all right? We're talking about, Kurt Cobain and Soundgarden, the 90s, man, where 1979 was on KC 101 and replayed itself probably 28 times, and the poor people in the back of the car who had to listen to it over and over again probably said, Jesus Christ, end us this song already. It's overplayed. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the 90s. But it's not just the 90s entirely of all its music and culture. No. I want to specifically pinpoint out those great compilation CD commercials that you know and love. Buzz Ballads, Ultimate Love Songs, Buzz Ballads 2. Oh yes, there was a Buzz Ballads 2. Let us not forget that the compilation CD, as I like to say, and put a line in the sand over here and clearly say, that has done more for culture in America than any other CD out there has, all right? Let me break this thing down for you. A compilation CD, much like a greatest hits album CD, is usually referred to as something that's so subpar, so sublime. You can't have an opinion on a compilation or greatest hits album. I mean, you could say, they missed a couple songs, that's about it. Or, I didn't like this band, but their greatest hits was awesome. Like, no. The compilation CD at its peak was probably the best way to get the bang out of your buck. Because whether you like it or not, I like listening to the radio and listening to the same songs 35 times a day. So you know what? Package that, put it in a plastic container, and start sending it out, baby, because we're printing money. Now, the compilation CD isn't, new to us at all. There have been greatest hits CDs and compilation CDs for as long as time remembers. But what we're really missing is the last and final heyday of compilation CDs. Now, that's not to say that CD production ultimately stopped the minute Napster became affordable, or the minute LimeWire, just ruined and virused your entire family computer to the point that your dad was like, what the is that little bear thing doing on my icon right there? No. The CD had its heyday and probably peaked exactly where we were young and didn't really know what the we were doing to begin with. The compilation CD probably killed a lot of mixtapes that people spent a long time with little cassettes and recorded it and just wanted to pinpoint around. No. Let us not forget the importance of the compilation CD, all right? Let us not forget what they have done for culture. And what, you may ask, for the culture? Well, it's very simple. They found a way to take maybe the best or most memorable songs, package it, and then give it to you and say, hey, this is the ultimate love songs. Or, hey, this is the buzz ballads that you guys need in your life. Lord knows that there's a lot of music out there, and Lord knows that you don't have enough time to listen to all that music. So some guy who was coked up from the 80s had a great idea when he finally said, put it in a CD, all the hits of the radio. And that is exactly how now that's what I call music started. The point that I'm trying to make here is that the compilation CD has, I wouldn't say ruined music for us, but they have yet rather defined music for us. If I want to know what was really going on in the 60s musically, I don't need to scan through LPs and albums of artists. No, I can just go to my compilation CD and get a nice little taste of what's going on down there. If I wanted to know what was happening in the 90s with all the alternative rock, well, buddy, we got Buzz Ballads for you on repeat. And man, is it buzzing. All right? Hoobastank. Who the remembers Hoobastank? I remember Hoobastank, but we only know Hoobastank by that one song. And you know that song. It was there on the radio. It was there on Buzz Ballads. And you know what? It's there for every emo girl on the school bus wanting to cry in public. Because in this household, we only cry to Hoobastank. Ah, yes. The compilation CD. Doing more for culture than... The compilation CD. Doing more for culture than the actual artists that put the time to make albums out and put all of their ideas and hard work into maybe 25 to 35-minute LPs for your enjoyment. The compilation CD. Where all radio music eventually lands on Weeby 108 easy listening in about 35 years from now. I guess what I'm trying to say is that these commercials have done the youth a favor. I never owned a compilation CD of Buzz Ballads or greatest hits. No. I never owned any of that, but I did watch the commercial. And those 5 seconds of each and every song, those 5 seconds that play on repeat in my mind, all I can think of is, oh, I've heard of that song. Oh, it's by this artist. And by doing so, culture has been inflicted. Culture has been progressed further. Because instead of me being a clueless nobody, going to a bar and, swiping through whatever karaoke machine they have, I can now look back at these song titles and those artists and say, oh, I know how the chorus goes. Let me with this now. I'm here to say that the compilation CD, nay, the commercial for compilation CDs, have done more for culture than you think. Whether you be on the couch slaving it up, whether it was on while watching cartoons on a Wednesday afternoon, these commercials live rent-free in the back of your mind, and I know they live rent-free in the back of your mind. Now, granted that if you're not really from here, they probably don't exist, or, maybe you never watched TV as a kid, so you never really got to see it. That's fine. That's all fine and dandy. But at one point or another, we have to give thanks to these commercials. It is because of these commercials that you now know what some great love songs are. It's now because of these commercials you actually have something of an idea or a kindling of, oh, well, this artist sounds good. I want to see what they do. Or, wow, that was interesting. I want to see what's up next. Dido, that chick that sang the theme song from Titanic. Hoobastank. We'll go back to Hoobastank a little bit later. These songs, these artists would not have existed or remain in the back of our timeline, not by the dedicated fans, but in some way by popular culture. Whether you like it or not, watching those commercials, you've affected popular culture. You've affected popular culture to the point that you now remember these artists. You now remember the moment you saw it. So much so that you also remember your childhood. I think there's a bigger problem at hand when corporations finally have taken over and they not only own your childhood, but they also own your memories. And the guys at Buzz Ballads own your no doubt. Listen, I don't have to paint you a picture of where you were when you heard Stain's "'Cause ever since I can remember." Like, I don't need to paint a picture to where you were when you found out where that commercial was or that song was. No. It's already there. All right. These corporations have made not only the compilation CD, but made an infectious commercial to roll in your head for the rest of your time. Overplay it so much that you can't really escape it. And in doing so, have captured your memory in that one single instance and moment of time. I don't need to remind you where you were on that day. You just know. I don't even need to sing these songs. I just need to play the commercial without any sound, and you instantaneously know what's going on. Nostalgia. It's apparent. You guys, whether we like it or not, well, I can't speak about you guys, but I can speak about me. I can speak about me and my nostalgia, and I know for a fact that I still long for those days. I still long for the days of being on the couch and then being magically teleported to my bed the next morning. Okay, I don't long for it that much, but, there's a nice little sentimental feeling over there. What I'm trying to say is that these commercials not only captured our ears for the 5 seconds that it appeared on screen, but more importantly, captured our youth in one way or another. For the longest time, if anyone wanted to roll back time and see what was really going on back then, they'd have to go through newspapers. They'd break out the old LPs, put it on their turntable, and give it a whirl. But for those who are of my age, close to 30, we have it so easy to be in the feeling of nostalgia. We have it so easy to just roll up our phone and type in Bobby's World intro and then instantaneously be brought back to something. We have it so easy to feel nostalgic that we can go onto Disney Plus and go watch Cinderella, The Fox and the Hound, and cry every single time. And then after that, go watch Jumanji and be like, man, don't you remember the 90s? The 90s! It was the 90s. Oh, don't you remember the 90s? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't remember the 90s. In fact, I'll be the first to admit it that I have no recollection or idea of what was really going on in the 90s. I'm going to stand on a limb here and just say it for once and for everyone that we have it too easy to engulf ourselves in nostalgia. We have it too easy to roll back memory lane, and for some odd reason, it's hindered us from moving into adulthood. So, with that said, these are Edison's 3 reasons why us 90s kids aren't really 90s kids. I'm going on a limb here and just going to say that my first point is going to be a little infectious over here. My first point is probably going to jar people off a lot, and you guys aren't going to like it either. But here goes. The 90s were not as great as you remembered it. Okay, there, I said it. It's out in the air. Let it digest. Get ready to hear my out on it. I do not remember being so attentive to the news today as I was back in the 90s. I do not remember anything with the impeachment of Clinton or anything that was going on in Saudi Arabia at that time, or even gas prices for that matter. I do remember gas prices being like $1.05. I remember that. Like, I still remember to this day that there was a Gulf station and it was $1.05. And I was like, why is everyone complaining? Gas is so cheap. Oh, Edison. Oh, Edison. But there's something to be said that our childhood is looked upon with such sullen eyes that all we can do is gush and feel so good about ourselves. Our childhood existed through the 90s. And because of that, we seem, or in this case, people in my age group, seem to have an affinity that says, hey, the 90s were a great decade, weren't they? Check out all this music. Wow, the politics were cool too. Man, I don't think that's right. The generation that you belong to is the one that you are well aware of what's going on and at the same time have purchasing power of what's going on. Because we were kids, because we watched Saturday morning cartoons, because we got to see the rise of YouTube and the internet, because we had to deal with AIM and BearShare and every other cool little factoid of the internet that came through, dial up. Just because we experienced that as children doesn't mean we were a generation of the 90s. This brings me to my second point, And as echoed already earlier, the generation we belong to are the ones where we become aware of what's going on and have money to spend. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't start making money until I was in college, but that doesn't mean I wasn't very well aware of what was going on. So much so that us 90s kids really aren't really 90s kids. We are, in fact, children of the early 2000s, 2001 all the way to 2010, if not 2012. And this is what I mean. By 2004, I was in 6th grade, and guess what? Like any edgy 6th grader had, I listened to the radio like a madman. I complained to my sister about the radio like a madman. I found old CDs of disco hits and compilations, always a good touch, but I had an opinion about politics. There is something to say, though, that my opinion towards George W. Bush was very apparent. I didn't watch the news as a kid. I didn't realize what was really going on in the country as a whole, especially on domestic affairs. But what I did know was we invaded Iraq blatantly, in broad daylight. I remember watching the news with my parents and watching the bombs fly as we bombed Baghdad. I remember the year we found Saddam Hussein in a small cramped hole in the middle of the desert with a bag of empty Cheetos. You know, it's kind of funny. It's exactly how our adult lives turned out, didn't it? But there's something to say that the year 2001 all the way to 2012 were probably the years that we actually grew up, had more attention to music, had more attention to what was going on culturally, and furthermore, the generation we belong to. We didn't live through the 90s knowing Bill Clinton got head from Monica Lewinsky. We didn't live through the 90s experiencing the rise of Nirvana and the ultimate inevitable fall of their of Kurt Cobain. You know, we weren't there to go out and check out these shows that were happening down at the New Haven Coliseum. I'm dating myself now, just a little bit. But what I do know is that we were bumping Akon like a all right. Alicia Keys was blasting music, hitting the tops of the charts at that moment in time. And Yeah by Usher, more than likely, and I'll put my foot down on this one, defined club music for the next years to come. Yes, it was annoying. Yes, it was my jam. And more importantly, Usher's Confession Part 2 is still fire. Top of the shelf. Would recommend a re-listen to. Great. But let us not forget that as we continued on through this timeline, we didn't get nostalgic until we hit high school. We didn't even get nostalgic until we hit college. This is why I really, really hate the idea of nostalgia. Reason number 3, why do we choose to be nostalgic in a pessimistic manner? We can always look back on better days, on fonder days. We can always look back on our childhood with gleam and actually be happy that we lived in a generation where we were able to record ourselves, take pictures more often without it getting developed, and even more importantly, categorize these things far better than any other generation. But we're ourselves over. I don't want to be a pessimistic person. I wish to be more optimistic in my life, to agree that better days are ahead. At the tail end of my 20s, I am scared of turning the big 3-0, but I'm not going to let that hinder me back from enjoying my life. What I have now may be more responsibility, but I also have control over everything. My life is more in my hands than it ever has been than when I was a child. The economy has been more in my control since I was a child. I might be missing out on the current top hit of this week. We might be, completely oblivious to what's really going on in the internet nowadays. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Yes, we hear the news on a day-to-day basis. Yes, we have stronger opinions and the ability to enact those opinions democratically now. But that doesn't make the 90s incredible. That doesn't make our adolescent views or our adolescent experiences more valuable. I can't help but feel that we can't move forward without letting go of certain things. And so, for that reason, I refuse to think that the 90s were the last great generation for music. I refuse to think that whatever happened between 2000 to 2010 or 2012 was so much better than what was happening right now. We're getting old, guys, but that doesn't necessarily mean we have to be so egregious to change. Now, granted that this is my opinion, and I'm just blaring it out into a microphone on a camera for you guys, but I'm not going to deny that there is something with nostalgia that we're playing around with too much. I love the fact that the Animaniacs are now back on Hulu. I love the fact that Dunkaroos are now back in shelves for everybody. Oh yeah, they're back. Big time. I love the fact that toaster strudels have survived the test of time. But for all that is being thrown at us and marketed to us, I want to know what's next. Elon Musk continually tells us that we're going to Mars. Elon Musk continually pushes the boundaries of what can be done and then does it. Liner note, big asterisk on Elon Musk doing anything that important just yet. But clearly, there is someone out there who is looking for better days into the future and has decided to shell off what was the past and just move forward with it. At the same time, he's also like, a millionaire, but that aside. Reasons why nostalgia sucks? It traps you. And why do you want to be trapped? Why would you want to be trapped? No one wants to be trapped. Unless you're headstrong by trapped. I hate that song. So guys, if there's anything that you should take away from this today, it's not that I hate nostalgia. It's not that I disagree with you that the 90s were so cool. No. It's not that you guys are all pessimistic for some odd reason. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that the generation we think we belong to probably isn't ours to begin with at all. We've been strolling down memory lane so much that we haven't really continued walking forward just yet. And, of course, maybe, just maybe, Michael Bolton has the voice of a angel. I love Spotify because it gives me all the music I ever want and more, but it also gives me the chance to listen to buzz ballads and makes me relive waking up on the couch on 10 p.m. on a Saturday and going to bed while Stained is playing in the background. And then turning off the TV too, because I hate that commercial. We all hated that commercial. Let us not forget that we have so many years ahead of us that we are blinded by our childhood because it is so easy. Rather, let us be optimistic, guys. Let us laugh, let us cry at whatever's going on right now. And if it seems like the world's on fire, let it burn. Just let it burn. Because I like to see and watch entertainment as things blow up in front of my face too. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Call Me Eddy. I think I've rambled on long enough and didn't have any, proper points to make. Hopefully you guys are still stuck around and listened. But I'm optimistic of where the show can go. I'm optimistic to what we're going to do next. So with that said, guys, save for retirement. Wash the dishes that are in your sink. And while you're at it, go put on some buzz ballads and rock out. I love Hooba Stank. Peace out, everybody.